Just that I need to find a file. Oh. Nope, the file is not there. What happened? Oh, because I turned off the computer. Nope.
It is there and it isn't there.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Because I have to find my file, sorry. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's pick up where, review a little bit on number 4. Neither identical nor different. We were saying that, if the conditional state and the unconditional state are identical, then we don't need to train, right? We are just the same as the sage. So the quality, the behavior, the characteristic of the conditional state, conditioned state, and the unconditioned state cannot be identical. If so, then if they're identical, we are already, the sage, but we're not. So they cannot be identical. Now, it's easy to understand here, because there are a difference between the sage and the difference between, the ordinary worldling. This part is okay. Now, what if we say that the conditioned state and the unconditioned state, unconditioned state are entirely different? What would be the problem there? Can we say that they're entirely different? So let's take a look. The explanation here by Venerable Yanpei is like, those, if they are entirely different, those sages who already gain insight, so reach the state of unconditioned or ultimate truth, will not be will not have to expunge. I don't know if you have the right word for that or not. Yeah, yes. Will not have to expunge the image, okay, of the conditioned state. I look at translations from John Kina and also from Venerable Yanpei. It's very difficult to grasp the idea. So if we are saying that they are the same, then they understand it cannot be because there are differences. But if we're saying that they are different, then what's wrong with that? So the catch is here is the entirely different. Okay, if the characteristic of the two truths are totally different, then the explanation here that, whoever already reached the state of ultimate truth, then, they are still equipped with the characteristic of the conventional truths. Why? Because, you know, the conventional truth and the ultimate truth, they are not repelling each other. They can be put together. Okay, so they are not, you know, they are in a sense, it's not a duality. Okay, we cannot say that they are entirely different. Later on, we will have one example to illustrate that it will make this statement a little bit clear. So let's move to the next one, and we will come back to that. So based on the assumption that if a person already attained, like the sage already attained the highest state, which is the ultimate truth state, you know, attain that characteristic or the image, then he will be, you know, if he retained retain that kind of characteristic, then he will be bounded by two bondages. First one, the image of the conditioned state, and then he will still have the defilements. Okay, that is assuming that both of the behavior or the characteristic appear, they're totally different, but they appear, you know, or possessed by the sage. Then it would be that he will be bounded by these two things. One is the image, because he's still showing the state of condition, and then the defilement still with him. So number two is based on, you know, this statement here is based on the statement above. If they can be parallelly lived together, okay, conditioned and unconditioned, then that would be some fault there. But then we know that the condition, the sage already get rid of those habitual patterns and behaviors of untrained worldling. So this cannot be true, that they cannot, you know, parallelly or live together. Okay, so that's one of the arguments, and later on we'll find out what. So move to the next one. The common mark of both no essence is true. Okay, whether it's ultimate or whether it's conventional, they still share the common nature, which is both of them are without any intrinsic nature. So the intrinsic nature, which is not defiled, right? The one without the, both of them are without the intrinsic nature. Okay, so the real nature, which is not defiled, so we cannot say that they are entirely different, because, you know, it's the intrinsic nature itself is not defiled. So another one, all conventional states are manifestations in the absence of self and essence. Then because of that, then the ultimate truth will be attained. So look at the conclusion first, and we'll come back to it, don't worry about it. It says the conventional truth is neither identical nor entirely different from ultimate truth, because we share something in common, remember? Now, you know, the metaphor will clear up a little bit. It's just like the white color of the conch shell. Can we say that the white color is totally different from the conch shell? We cannot separate it, right? Because it is embraced or interconnected with each other. If you take out the white color, it's not a conch shell anymore. Of course, you know, the shells have different colors, but we're specifically talking about, you know, a white colored conch shell. Okay, if you take out the color, then it's not the same thing anymore. But we cannot say that it is totally different. It's still the same thing. Okay, like the smell of an incense. Can you say that the smell is separate, totally different from the incense? It's part of it, right? But we cannot say that the incense is the same as the smell. Does that make any sense at this point? It takes a little bit of, you know, logical thinking. It's not entirely different, but then it's also not the same. Okay, the incense is the incense. It is a product come out of burning the incense, the smell. Okay, it's just like the melody from a sound, from the sound of a guitar. So can we say that the melody is totally not related to the guitar? We cannot say that. But we also cannot say that the melody is exactly the same as a guitar. It takes me a while to understand that, okay? So it's saying that, put it in a more simple way, it's like the ultimate truth cannot stand by itself without the conventional truth. It's just like a coin. It's the two sides of a coin. Can you say that the two sides is different? No, because it's from the same coin. But can you say that one side is exactly the same as the other side? We cannot say that either. So ultimate truth cannot exist without building on the conventional truth. But we cannot say ultimate truth is equivalent, exactly the same. Okay, if without conventional truth, then what is ultimate? So this duality is trying to make us understand, you know, things are not absolute. Does that make sense? This is how I understand.
Yes.
Good. So the next one is like some verses from the Buddha. So it's, the Buddha said the descriptive mark of the realm of conditioned state of being and of ultimate meaning are apart from being described either as identical or as different. So we cannot say that it's identical, we cannot say that it's different. If one imagine them to be either identical or different, one is acting unreasonably. And because of bondage to image and to gross weaknesses, sentient beings must assiduously cultivate quietude and vision, and then they will be able to attain liberation. Okay, that means get rid of duality. But then we cannot get rid without knowing the duality. So I hope this is, come up to be a little bit more easier to understand. So number 5, one taste. Again, a lot of logical thinking and weaving into, what is actually talking. One taste mark of all Dhamma and Dhamma. And this is the Buddha talking to Shibudi. He said, understand the purified content of the Buddha's teaching, all aggregates, all these depending co-arising in substance, in the realms, all the factors of awakening is the truth of ultimate meaning, okay? So is this question, is this at which level? It talk about is the truth of ultimate meaning, but it sets all the aggregates, all the depending co-arising in sustains in the realm, all the factors of awakening. So up to here, is it talking about the conventional truth, or is it talking about the ultimate truth?
I think it's conventional.
Yes, very good, Jeff. Because up to now, up to that sentence, whatever is presented to us, whether it's aggregate, depending on origination, whether it's describing, the samsara, recycling, all the factors, 37 factors of awakening or prerequisites of enlightenment, all these a person can practice it's a conventional truth because we are not getting to the ultimate truth yet. These are tools, these are medias, these are techniques that we utilize so that, these are rafts that we can utilize and get us across the ocean of samsara to the other shore. Okay, so up to there, it's talking about the conventional truth. Very good. So the purified content of understanding is characterized of being one taste and undifferential. So the entire explanation here, if we go on and go on, it's going to tell us that we can teach whatever teaching, whatever Dhamma, we can practice whatever techniques. Come down to the point is, there is one way. It's from whatever angle, whatever practice, we're just going to one goal. Okay. And because we are not trained yet, our mind is not trained yet, we perceive that, oh, this is depending on origination. Oh, this is Four Noble Truths. This is practice of meditation. This is chanting. All these techniques is leading us towards the final goal. Because our mind is untrained, we think that they're different. We think that some of the teachings are more superior, are more effective, more direct. The others are more inferior. So that kind of differentiation that, is a hindrance to us in going, practicing towards the final goal. Okay, so the Buddha said, encompass all marks with one taste. Ultimate meaning is taught by all Buddhas, not just Shakyamuni Buddha, to be undifferentiated. If one were to discriminate it in those differentiation, one should assuredly be foolish and prideful. Okay, because my way is better than your way. So that is, the key teaching here on the one taste mark. Do I expect you to memorize those? I'll think about it. Let me think about that, because I have to think about, where are we, at what death that we are going to go into. But there are something that I definitely want you guys to at least, not just memorize, but penetrate a little bit into it. Okay, so that's that. And then we go to chapter 3, the deception of mark of mind, thought, and consciousness. So what is chapter 2 talking? Chapter 2 was saying that the deception mark of the truth. So, what is the truth? What is the conventional? What is the ultimate? Okay, but because we are shielded or shadowed by a veil that we cannot see it clear. But these are the deceptive marks, 5 of them. So now it's about the mind and consciousness. 2 questions by Bodhisattva Visalamati. He asked, how can a Bodhisattva considered to be skillful in the secret of mind? Chill and I just had a discussion about the word secret. Yes, directly from the Chinese translation. Remember, we talked about the definition. There are 4 of them, 4 definitions. The word secret in the Chinese language is mi. Mi can be like me, like secret, okay? It can be also, I just, talked to Joe about that. It can be mi ji. Mi ji is subtle. So it's not that kind of secret that we think about. It's the subtleness. Okay, let's translate it as the subtleness of the mind. It's not something that hiding. It's not that. Okay. So how Bodhisattva considered to be skillful in the secret of mind, thought, and consciousness? The second question is, to what extent the Tathagata will describe him as being skillful? Okay. Now this chapter, the Buddha answered and explained 2 points. 1 is the function of the consciousness. 2 is the different kind of bodhisattva. 1 is skillful in ultimate truth. The other one is not. Okay. Let's start with the function of the consciousness. And this is by John Kina, from his book, The Scripture of Explication of the Underlying Meaning. The underlying meaning is a good translation also. So the 3 terms of consciousness, the first one is called appropriating consciousness. I think we just explained that when we do the school of Yogacara. So at the time of conception, Not the school. Did we talk about that in the school of Yogacara? I think so. So at the time of conception, life begins due to two appropriations. Number one is they appropriate the material senses in the body. The second one is the propensity towards verbal fabrication in discriminating images and words. It's the habitual pattern from the previous life. I'm not a scientist and I don't, I'm ignorant about any kind of science, biology, physics, or chemistry. To me, it's all foreign. So I understand the body and mind through the study of Buddhism, honestly. So we ordinarily or commonly or generally, we think that life begins when the sperm and the egg join together, right? That's physiology, right? But the question is, when that happens, how can it become alive? Don't forget that the body and mind are connected. When we die, the body, the four elements split up, okay? It leaves that physical form. But the consciousness it is said that, especially the Tibetan teaching, correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry, that the consciousness will leave. Then we said that, okay, this person is dead. So we see that people in coma, the body is not functioning normally, okay? Cannot move, cannot, digest, or, living on, cannot even breathe. But, the consciousness is still there. So the doctor cannot pronounce this person dead. Okay, and sometimes even the heart stops to pound, but the brain still functioning. Okay, now put that same theory into the embryo. If the egg and sperm join, the sankhara start, okay? Then when there is sankhara, there is consciousness. This consciousness, where did it come from? Is it just because of the physical unity that the consciousness automatically join in? If the consciousness is not joined in yet, even though the egg meets the sperm, can we call it alive without the consciousness? If we cannot call it alive, then the life didn't begin, unless somewhere, somehow, this consciousness, when the physical unification, the consciousness joined in, okay, then the life start. So where does this consciousness come from? Different school had different explanation on that, but very commonly it says that this consciousness, it's from what we call the Bardo. The Bardo is the period in between a person's death and before rebirth. And there is this 5 aggregates still existing, maybe not in the very explicit form, but this consciousness still exists somehow. And then when the consciousness, seeing there is an opportunity to join in the physical form, then it will go to that join, go to that meeting together. So 3 things together: the egg, the sperm, and the consciousness join in. That is when life begins. Okay, then why this consciousness in the middle of life, which is called the Bardo, want to do that? It's because their appropriation of material senses in the body. Okay? They are craving for rebirth in a way because they think that they want something. And the something is the continuing of life. That's number 1. Then, after that, then, the propensity towards verbal fabrication. It's the discriminant. They think that, it's there. There is the life there, the image. And based on the habitual pattern from the previous life, and then, of course, one very important ingredient is the karmic energy that will push this consciousness into the next being. Okay, so it is the consciousness that, appropriating, oh, there is life. I need this, body. This is I'm going to continue. Okay, so that is the explanation. So it is taken up together with the body. It is the support and ground for the function of seeing, hearing, consciousness, the function of it, right? And when the 5 sense bases are meeting with the external object, the form, sound, smell, and all those, then each individual consciousness arises because of, we want this contact to happen. And then the appropriating consciousness then take over and evolve the thinking consciousness. So when the I meets the external object, give rise to the consciousness, the process of contact happens. If there is contact, there is feeling. If there's feeling, there's perception. If there is perception, there's volition. Thinking is the thinking consciousness is the volition part of the 6th consciousness. Okay, and this thinking is this thinking that simultaneously discriminate the same external object. So it appropriates the seed, the body, the conception, and continuation of life. This is, when I explain number 1 and 2, this is what happened. And sorry, the cycle of samsara has been kicked on. Okay, we have birth, then we have decay, sickness, and finally die. And then we do it all over again. Okay, so 3 terms of consciousness. And second one is the receptacle. Let's see if I can move down.
I have a short clarification for me.
Yes.
In the appropriating consciousness, at the time of conception, life begins to 2 appropriations. They're both craving for rebirth, or is just the appropriation of material senses in the body, or both? Basically, it's craving for rebirth for both of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because without the discrimination mind, then it won't kick off the rebirth. So we have to know that, you know, if I stay in this state, it's no different than if I, you know, go on to the next life. So it is a discrimination mind also at the same time that a person, you know, kick on the cycle. And again, here, you know, it did not emphasize or say, but it's an underlying understanding that the ingredient of karmic energy is there. Okay? Make sense? Okay, the next one is called the receptacle consciousness. So join itself to and lies hidden in the body in a common security and risk. Again, you know, the body cannot do without the mind. The mind cannot do without the body. So they are taking, even though the consciousness is lying hidden in the body, but then they share the same risk or same security. And then it stays and relies on the physical form. The consciousness is relying on the physical form. Because when the physical form is there no more, like when a person died and get burned, you know, into ashes, the physical body exists no more. The consciousness leaves the body, okay? Still existing for actually different school again. It is said that the Bardo part, like the life in between birth and death, there is this very subtle aggregates. So in essence, that this breath cease, the next breath arise, but in a different form, until they find a physical body that they can hide inside. Okay, they will be in this different form. Traditionally, Mahayana Buddhism is saying that it's 49 days they, you know, and every 7 days they search for another form of, you know, relying on. 7 days a circle, 7 days a cycle, and then until 49 days, they are searching for something, okay? But on, you know, in the Theravadan tradition, it's said differently. They said that this breath sees next breath generated. So there is no such thing of about like 49 days. This is more the Mahayana saying. And I asked my professor, Professor Anunuda, about that. And he said that because human beings' faculty are confined into time and space, what we understand the 49 days, it could be just a split of second. Meaning that on the 17th thought and the dying the dying thought, what do you say? the dying mind, the 17th mind, the dying 17th mind, and the next mind is created. Okay? But then our concept is that, okay, we have 24 hours a day, we have 7 days a week, we have 7 weeks. All these are only appear or understand in the human mind. On a more sophisticated or subtle level, that time frame cannot be defined exactly when. So that is why the Abhidhamma people, they divide each mind into 17, what they call each one thought arise divided into the 17 minds. Okay, very, very subtle. It's not easy to comprehend. But I don't think we need to, worry about that for the time being. So Venerable Yenpei explained that this consciousness looking for a place to park is actually a storage consciousness. It's called alaya vijnana. But this is not the same as the 8th consciousness that developed later as the alaya consciousness, the 8th consciousness. It still have the same function of storage, okay? But it's not the same because the in this sutra, the theory, the idea, the philosophy of the dividing the consciousness into 8 consciousness, it's still not there. Right here, we're still talking about the first 5 and the number 6, okay? So everything happened here is still within the 6th consciousness. Not even until Vasubandhu's Abhidhamma Kosa, he's still dealing with the 6th consciousness until the 20 verses, the 30 verses, until actually the 30 verses that he generate or compose. That is the time the consciousness, the 6th consciousness was divided into 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and we'll deal with that later on when we get to the 30 verses of Vasubandhu. But here, the alaya vijnana still has the same storage function. Okay. Now, next, the mind. The mind, it mines and accumulates material form, sound, smell, odor, whatever. It just accumulated, but it doesn't store. Okay. Venerable Yenpei said that this mind is actually like a coordinator. Okay. Like a, what do you call it? The composer? Is it called the composer? Not the composer. Who, Ling Ling will understand that, people who direct, what is conductor? Okay. Like a conductor. So you do this, you do that. Okay, it's just like a coordinator to facilitate the function of the 5 sense basis consciousness. Okay. Take a step back because I know that this is a little bit, hard to understand. 5 consciousness. What are the 5? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, right? The 5. And then the mind. So here is talking about the mind. Okay? And also this mind, not only on the sense doors or sense bases, this mind also belongs to another group. It's called the 5 aggregates. So eye, ear, nose, body, tongue, body belong to the form, right? Then the next one would be feeling, perception, relation, and consciousness. Okay, so feeling, perception, relation are the process of this consciousness, which this consciousness also would take over the previous 5. So this is the function of the thinking consciousness. Okay, so it only accumulates. There is another function. Don't think about they are physically or mentally existent. Think about the function that would be easier for us to understand. So Venerable Yenpei said that this mind is actually the coordinator, okay? It only accumulates, but not store. Store is another function. So there are 3 functions of the consciousness. No wonder later on, Vasubandhu has to separate into 3 because they perform different functions. So it is also not clinging. It doesn't do anything. It just coordinates, and it also facilitates. It also accumulates, but it doesn't store, and it does not clinging or appropriating. That it's not differentiating. So that is the mind. So the consciousness can be separated into 2. One is into 3: appropriating, receptacle, and then the mind, the conductor. Okay. And then he also, in this chapter, also mentioned about Bodhisattva. There are 2 kinds. One is with wisdom abiding in doctrine. Very, very clear. High comprehension. Understand. So this is the one who is with wisdom abiding in doctrine and are skillful in those secrets or the subtleness of the mind and thought. Okay, but not on the account that the Tathagata described. So to the Tathagata, they are not skillful in mind. They are skillful in doctrines. They understand and they can entangle or explain the sutta or the doctrine. So in their consciousness, they know how to differentiate, how to analyze, how to systemize. But to the Tathagata, they are not skillful in mind or thought or consciousness. It's only those who said to be skillful in the ultimate meaning are described by the Tathagata are skillful in the ultimate meaning because each one within themselves does not see any appropriation. Okay, so what they do, they're not seeing the appropriating consciousness, not seeing any object of thought, not thinking consciousness as real. They are experience the true nature of all phenomena, which is the empty nature of all phenomena. That is why they don't appropriate, they don't cling on, they don't see, they don't crave. Those are the Tathagata named it as skillful in the true in the ultimate meaning. So verses by the Buddha, the appropriating consciousness is profound and subtle indeed. All its seeds are like rushing torrent, fearing that they would imagine and cling to it as to a self. I have not revealed it to the foolish. Okay, so not all practitioners, Buddhists or non-Buddhists, can accept this concept. It's so explosive that, scare people away. Okay, chapter 4. So far, any question, comment? Chapter 4 is the chapter that I think everybody should understand, maybe not memorize, but at least able to comprehend. This is the key for the foundation for the entire school of Yogacara. So we need to maybe, pay a little bit of attention to that. Chapter 5 would say that neither, all these threefold marks or natures of everything, it's actually no, they're not exist. And it's because of course, because they don't have the intrinsic nature. But if we understand this three nature of the school of Yogacara, we will be able to understand the next chapter, which is chapter 5. Why is it saying that, these natures are actually does not exist individually, ultimately. Okay. Shall we? I'm thinking about maybe we go to YS-4. We read this chapter first, and then we'll come back for the explanation. How about that? Would that work? We read and then we take a break and then we come back to it. In this way, hopefully by reading it, we will be able to grasp some of the meaning. So I'm going to pull YS up, YS-4 up, and then.
Yeah, don't forget to stop share and then.
Oh, of course. Stupid of me. And then share. Do we have any comment? Because I see, on the chat, people ask questions. Very good, Kyle.
So Bardo just means intermediate or in between, even transitional. So there are multiple Bardos. Life is a Bardo because it's in between the becoming of this life and the ending of this life. Meditation is a Bardo when you are in the state of a really deep meditative state. You're in the Bardo of meditation. There's the Bardo of death, which is the moment of death, because life is ending, the new life is not yet started, that's death. And the Bardo of becoming is the one Kathy was talking about, which is the Bardo of moving from one life to the next life, and you're in between. So I think there are 6 main Bardos, and that's just one of them.
Very good, very good. I learned something, too, because I didn't go into very depth on the Bardo theory, I have my own shortage because, you know, I start with the Theravadan teaching when I learned Buddhism. So this is back into my mind that, you know, the Bardo, and then with the, you know, Chinese culture background then, the Bardo, the becoming of life, the in-between period, of course, there are a lot of sutras and teachings in the Mahayana Buddhism talking about that. But like I said, you know, when I start with Buddhism, I kind of train in the Theravadan way. So to me, that it's because we are confined in this time and space that, you know, we have a concept of the length, that there is something existing. But, you know, since many sutras, many texts, Buddhist teachings talking about, you know, there is actually the existence of the middle part between life. And when we come to the Lotus Sutra, that Bardo time, that in between, that the human being's consciousness, it's in one thought. You're traveling 3,000 spaces, 3,000 time. So it kind of, you know, match what Professor Anuruddha was telling, that, you know, because we're confined in this concept of time and space, that, you know, we have to explain what happened between the 17th breath or 17th mind on the last breath, and then, you know, between that with the next moment of the mind, you know, say mind number 1 to mind number 17. If on a dying bed, the last mind, mind, still each mind, each thought is 17. Okay, so if my dying mind, my dying thought, the last one, which is the 17 mind of the last thought, then how long would it take from that 17th to the next first? It's, you know, it's a little bit confusing here, but don't worry about that. We have opportunity to get to that. So shall we read? Who would like to read? It's, let's see how many pages. I'm not quite sure. 4 pages, right? I think it's 4 pages. No, it's 2 pages. Yeah, it's only 2 pages. So I need a volunteer to read. Maybe we'll ask somebody who didn't read before. How about Wenying, you want to read? Can you hear me?
Could you please repeat one more time, Kathy?
Okay, can you read the passage? Do you mind reading it?
From where?
What, the entire passage, YS-4. Do you have that? Chapter 4, the characteristic pattern of all things. It's 2 pages.
My English is not that good.
I could read Caddy.
Okay.
This is Kyle.
Okay, Kyle. Good.
Yeah,
good.
I got it pulled up, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah, YS-4, right?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see, chapter 4, right? That's
Yeah,
correct.
chapter 4.
All right. Chapter 4, the characteristic patterns of all things. At that time, the great Bodhisattva, Gunakar, addressed the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, you have spoken about Bodhisattvas skilled in the characteristic patterns of all things. Why do you so speak of them? Why do you describe them so?" Then the world-honored one addressed the Bodhisattva, Gunakara, and said, "It is excellent, Gunakara, that you have been able to question the Tathagata about this profound theme. You bring forth this question because you desire to benefit and gladden unlimited sentient beings, because you have compassion for the world, with all its gods, men, angels, and so forth, so that they might be led to attain meaning, benefit, and happiness. Attend and I will explain the marks of all things for you. In sum, the marks of all things are threefold. The first is the characteristic pattern of clinging to what is entirely imagined. The second is the characteristic pattern of other dependency. The third is the characteristic pattern of full perfection. The pattern of clinging of what is entirely imagined refers to the establishing of names and symbols for all things and the distinguishing of their essences, whereby they come to be expressed in language. The pattern of other dependency refers to the pattern whereby all things arise codependently. For if this exists, then that exists, and if this arises, then that arises. This refers to the 12-fold conditions, starting with conditioned by ignorance are karmic formations, and ending with conditioned by origination is this grand mass of suffering, the last of the 12 conditions. The pattern of full perfection refers to the universally equal suchness of all things. Bodhisattvas penetrate to this suchness because of their resolute zeal, intelligent focusing, and true reflection. By gradually cultivating this penetration, they reach unsurpassed true awakening and actually realize perfection. Good son, the pattern of clinging to what is entirely imagined is like the defective vision of one who has cataracts in his eyes. The pattern of other dependency is like those deceptive images in the confused vision of the one with the cataracts. For they appear to be distinct images, such as hairs, flies, small particles, or patches of different colors. The pattern of full perfection is like the unconfused objects seen by the pure vision of one with sound eyes and no cataracts. Good son, it is just as when a pure crystal comes into contact with and is tinted with the color blue. It appears to be a blue sapphire or a blue gem. Because it takes on the appearance of a blue sapphire or a blue gem, it confuses sentient beings. When it comes into contact with the color red, it appears to be a ruby and so confuses sentient beings. When it comes into contact with the color green, it appears to be an emerald and so confuses sentient beings. When it comes into contact with the color yellow, it seems to be gold and so confuses sentient beings. Similarly, Gunakara, just as these tinted colors appear upon the pure crystal, so the propensity toward language of the characteristic pattern of clinging to what is imagined is superimposed upon the other dependent pattern. Just as upon the pure crystal, one falsely clings to blue sapphires, rubies, emeralds, or gold, so upon the other dependent patterns of consciousness, one clings to the imagined. For that other dependent pattern is like a crystal. Just as when in a constant and continual fashion, the pure crystal no longer has any image of sapphires, rubies, emeralds, or gold. It is without their reality or essence. So when the pattern of other dependency no longer has imagined images in it, it is also in fact without their reality or essence, and is then the pattern of full perfection. Furthermore, Gunakara, the imagined pattern can be understood as caused by the interplay between imagined images and words. The other dependent pattern can be understood as caused by the grasping of those imagined images upon the other dependent pattern. The pattern of full perfection can be understood as caused by the absence of grasping the imagined pattern upon the other dependent pattern. If bodhisattvas are truly able to understand the imagined pattern as it arises upon the other dependent pattern in all things, They then will be truly able to understand all things as unmarked. If bodhisattvas are truly able to understand the other dependent pattern of their consciousness, they then will be truly able to understand all things as denied. If bodhisattvas are truly able to understand the fully perfected pattern, they will be truly able to understand all things as purified. If bodhisattvas truly understand all things as unmarked in the other dependent pattern, they then will be able to abandon defiled things. If they are able to abandon defiled things, they will be able to realize things as purified. In this fashion, Gunakara, since they truly understand all three patterns of consciousnesses, they will truly know things as unmarked, defiled, and purified. Because they abandon defiled things, they will realize things as purified. And this is why those bodhisattvas are described by the Tathagata as skilled in the characteristic pattern of all things. Then the World Honor One recited these verses to emphasize his meaning. If one does not understand things as unmarked, one will be unable to abandon defiled things. Not being able to abandon defiled things, one will obstruct the realization of wondrously purified things. Not gaining insight into the sinfulness of all one's actions, one will be wild, sinful, and injurious to sentient beings. Sadly enmeshed in transient things, are not such people lost and pitiable?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. So by reading it, do we have a little bit of, sense about what is it, what this chapter is talking about?
I think so, a little bit.
That's good, that's good, that's good. It is, in a way, it is the key teaching of the Yogacara school. Let me go back to the mic. Okay, here.
Hey, don't forget to stop sharing.
Yeah, I have to stop sharing. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yep.
Okay, good. So, chapter 4. Shall we take a break?
Sure.
Yeah, let's take a break for 15 minutes to study. The following are teaching or Venerable Yenpei's introduction. So it says that the previous chapter we talked about the deceptive marks, we talk about the deceptive consciousness thinking, those signs or those characteristics that explains the root for rebirth and liberation. So those are the causes, those are the roots for either we go through transmigration or we go to the returning of cut off the cycle of samsara. But there are still something left. There are something that are left undiscussed. So here are the 4 things that are not being discussed on the previous chapters. So here, chapter 4. So what are these things that are left not being discussed? First of all, is the defiled phenomenon of circulation of birth and death. Then it says, the errorly perceiving all phenomena and clinging to images. We can do the images as signs or characteristics or appearance, clinging to the images, appearance, or language characterize birth and death that we did not discuss. The purified state of returning and cessation of nirvana that has not been discussed, the righteous realization without solidified clinging that we haven't discussed. And then the circulation or returning based on the theory of perception that we did not discuss. The view of sentient being is with error, perceiving existence as non-existence, non-existing as existing. Therefore, the cycling in the ocean of birth and death. Then the next item would be the threefold marks, explicitly disclosing the ultimate meaning of defilement and purification, reality and illusion, birth and death, or birth, death, and nirvana, with or without intrinsic nature. This is a very important doctrine that the purpose of the Buddha's teaching, the profoundness, the emptiness and existence, the conventional and ultimate, the clarity or not, misspell, all included in this doctrine. That is why I said that, you know, this is actually the base or foundation of the school of Yogacara. Okay.
凯蒂师姐，我看不到这些你刚才读的这些，不好意思。
Okay. A B, can you feel it? 看到吗? A B.
对，后来在 Okay, now I can. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And C D, I didn't scroll down. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, because when I'm looking at the document, you guys are looking, I'm actually looking at my computer, which, you know, I have a bigger screen that, you know, with my my old age eyesight, that is easier for me to look at that. Okay, the key point here, if we understand the three nature of ascension being, untrained mind, then we will be able to understand why we are going through this transmigration. Okay, the 12 links, the vertical explanation of life. Okay, then if we understand the non-nature, the threefold nature opposite, then we will be able to understand that, you know, we are actually working our way backward from the samsara, from the ocean of rebirth. So that is why, you know, the three marks or three natures of all things is the essence of the school of Yogacara.
Caddy, can you, the last part of D, the clarity of not, is that how that's supposed to read?
Where?
The last part of D, it starts off the threefold marks, and then at the very end, it says the clarity
of not. It's a typo.
What
the
should it say?
Or not.
Or not, okay.
Yeah, it
Thank
should
you.
be or.
That's
Sorry
what I thought,
about
but I wasn't sure. I thought I missed something.
Yeah, it's or. Correct it. Okay. So that's what happened, that, you know, if you're typing it 3 o'clock in the morning, that's what happened. So it's like, you know, one or many, white or black, right or wrong. It's kind of list all the possible duality here. I need a mouse. I cannot control my scrolling without moving. Okay. Okay, let's come to the threefold. The threefold marks are typical Yogacara teaching. If you read the texts from this school, these terms are very common. Okay, they will appear again and again and again and again. Okay, the first one is called pervasive fabrication. Now, those who can read Chinese can read that. So it says the existence of all phenomena is the establishment of name and symbol and expressed in language, basically for convenient purpose. Okay. The language used to indicate the purpose of language is to indicate things and their essence. Sentient beings cling to these images created by their consciousness through language. Okay. Remember the appropriation of the language or word fabrication? This is what I'm talking about. It's a human mind. It's a human mind. Through language, using my eyeglass again. This is a glass. How do I know that it is a pair of glass? It's the language that tells me, right? Okay. So, but then, we don't know that it is only a compositional existing. So we attach to it. But we're actually not attaching to this eyeglass. We are attaching to the image of an eyeglass through language, because we know that it is the eyeglass. Then the next one would be like defective vision. Why we do that? It's just like the defective vision with the cataracts in the eye, Same idea of the Tathagata Gaba, the Buddha nature, is saying that, we all have Buddha nature, but because of the dust is ignorance that, shields the reality, then we cannot, the Buddha nature cannot be revealed. Same thing, same idea here. Okay. Same idea as the Chan school with Senshou, that we have to dust the dust frequently so that, the mirror will appear clear. Okay. Then with a pure crystal, here we go, being tinted with color, takes the appearance of the reflect image as real existence. That Kyle just read. If, we wear a blue pair of contact lens, then we see everything as just like sapphire. Okay, so on and so forth. So this is the nature of an untrained worldling. We appropriate through language, clinging to the image, thinking that they are really existing, without knowing that these are only the images that reflect from our mind. So nothing really exists. It's only the mind that perceives. Okay. But we, try everything to stick to this clinging, especially We cling to life. Okay, and what is life? L-I-F-E. It's a word. But to us, life means something. This word means something. That means we exist. Okay, so we are clinging to this idea that so tightly from beginningless time that we cannot let go. That is why we're trapped in this ocean of samsara, ocean of suffering, ocean of rebirth. Okay. The next one would be the pattern of other dependent. Other dependent, in a way, is good because we're saying that nothing independently exists, right? And then it's talking about the 12 links of depending origination. That's at the conventional level. At the ultimate level, we have also to let go of this kind of teaching. All right. So here, but at this level, that when we are practicing, we're still as an untrained worldling, that all things arise interdependently. Okay. I just ate some almond. So the almond, can it be independently existing? Is the almond just there for me to eat? Do I need the farmer to collect it? Do I need the middleman to sell it? Do I need the going to the store to buy it?
Bees. Need lots of bees.
I'm sorry?
Bees to pollinate the trees. They import them every year just to pollinate the almond.
Oh, well, it still cannot be exists independently, right? So this exists, then that exists. This arise, that arise. Now with ignorance as cause, the 12 links kicks on. Okay, so we'll go to that in just a few minutes. So like the deceptive image in the confused vision with cataract. Okay, any question about this one? Good. Wow, we have a very, very smart class here. So B, characteristic pattern of full perfection. Okay, and here is called the nature of ultimate reality. So the universal equal suchness of all things. It's a little bit difficult to comprehend here. Let's go on reading, and then when we get to the Buddhist word, then we probably will be able to grasp a little bit. So Bodhisattva penetrate to this suchness with their resolute seal, intelligent forecasting, and true reflection. Then by gradually cultivating this penetration, they reach unsurpassed true awakening and actually realize perfection, like the unconfused object seen by the pure vision with healthy eye. The last line here, unconfused object, it's one condition. Seen by the pure vision with healthy eye, the other condition. So all these conditions has to exist. A person can see clearly. If the object is confused, even with a good pair of eye, we cannot see things clearly as it is. Now, with a clear and confused object, but we don't have a pair of healthy and clear vision, then, we cannot see its reality also. Okay. The first line here, the universally equal suchness of all things. What is this talking about? What does that mean?
I think equanimity comes to mind.
Good, good. Because you see the word equal, right? Okay. How about anyone else?
Everything is mind made.
Okay. Another good thing. Good response, good answer. I'm looking for more.
Knowing our mind is very important, our daily life.
Okay.
Every moment.
Okay, so your perception is from the practice perception or perspective.
Yeah,
which is
that's really important.
very good too. More?
All things are absent of inherent existence.
Wow. Because of what? The word suchness. Right? So yeah, everything is equal, no duality. Okay. And from the practice perspective, yes, we can utilize this as a media or tool. Then the key word here is the suchness, which is equally no intrinsic nature as it is. Yata Buddha, Yata Buddha, Yata Buddha. Okay, as it is. Equanimity, reality, true nature. Very good, guys. Proud of you. So the next one is the Bodhisattva penetrate into this suchness. Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, while deeply immersed in Prajna Paramita. Remember that? Penetrate to this suchness. Penetrate into the reality. Penetrate to the nature of no such thing with the intrinsic nature. With their wrestle still deeply immersed, clearly perceive, true reflection. It's there. It is all there. Okay. When we do the introduction, remember what one of the Lamo, the Buddhist scholar, saying that this sutra is a connection between the Prajna teaching and the Yogacara. So now we can see why he said that, right? Can we connect that? Are we able to? Of course. Prajna Paramita, basically, the core teaching is emptiness. Emptiness is the true nature of all things, all phenomena. Okay? Emptiness meaning that there is no intrinsic nature in all phenomena. So connect. And then the next one, by gradually cultivate this penetration, we have to penetrate. It's not just intellectual understanding. It takes the practice. Then we'll be able to penetrate and reach that state of awakening and realization, perfection. And this, at this state, that means the object is clear. The vision is clear. The eye is healthy. Right? All these conditions together, then we can see things as they truly are. So this is called the characteristic pattern of full perfection, nature of ultimate reality. A, B, and C are the core teaching of the school of Yogacara. So we need to know. I can tell you right away here that there would be a question about this, whether in the homework or in the final. Okay, because this is so important. So let's go to the verse by the Buddha. If one does not understand things as unmarked, no images, no sign, one will be unable to abandon defiled things. Not being able to abandon defiled things, one will obstruct the realization of wondrously purified things. Not gaining insight into the sinfulness of all one's action, one will be wild, sinful, and injurious to sentient beings, sadly enmeshed in transient things. Are not such people lost and pitiable? In this statement, it includes the three teachings also: Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna. Okay, so Prajna is the tool. Prajna, somebody will say that, oh, okay, I cultivate and develop prajna. But prajna is the tool towards the goal. We need that. It's the parami. It's something that the raft that we can use to cross over. Okay? So sila is that, if we don't have insight into what is right and what is wrong, and we perform unwholesome actions, then it's going to, not only trap us into the samsara, but also, bring us down to where that we don't like to be. Okay, so sila is the foundation. Then if the mind is not clear, it's just like, we don't have a pair of good eyes, like the confused vision with cataract. Okay, so how do we have a clear mind to begin with, so that we can observe what is right and what is wrong? We need a steady and clarified mind. We cannot have a monkey mind jumping around, a defiled mind, with lots of papancha going on. Then we cannot perceive things as it is. So here comes the samadhi. Then eventually we'll be able to cultivate wisdom, the prajna or panya. Then with the prajna and panya, it's just like the torch, in the dark night. It's just like the brightness in the darkness. Prajna is like that. Okay, so it not only let us have a clear vision of what is right, what is wrong, all these images that we create through illusion, but it also shines on the path of liberation. So we can follow this light and walk towards the liberation. So that is why prajna is so important, that we will be able to not only understand, not only knowing, but experience the reality. Okay, so this is very important. Of course, in the later Yogacara school, it went further to analyze, how these happen. Yogacara set up the theory of bija, the 8 consciousness and the bija, later on by Vasubandhu. It's more explanation, okay? More explanation. So the question comes like, why do we need to know that? I mean, can we just sit down and meditate? Or can we just chant so that our mind will be reached one-pointedness? Or can we have great vows so that we can be rebirthed in the Western paradise? Or, I just want a good life, whether being born in the celestial realm or in the human realm, as long as I don't go down, I'm fine. Okay, again, this is a personal choice. And why do we have that kind of thinking that, okay, either Western paradise, whether, it's in the celestial realm, human realm, anything. Here, School of Yogacara, it's because we attach to the words, attach to the words that express the images. And these are the things that are actually a reflection of our consciousness. They only exist in the mind. It's mere mind, mind only, mere consciousness. No matter how we calculate in any way, we are still appropriating something that is not substantially exist, unchangeable, independently existing. That means intrinsic nature. There is no such thing as the intrinsic nature. No matter how we calculate, it always dependent on others, whether it's 12 ling or not. Okay, but then finally, this kind of 12 ling, it's only words. It's only tools that let us realize or understand. At the ultimate level, all these are neither arising nor non-arising, neither ceasing nor non-ceasing. So it gets that deep. But the School of Yogacara need to use the 12 ling of interdependent to express how the samsara, the cycle of rebirth, does exist at the conventional level. This is a teaching. Any question? We will go through the 12 links in just a minute. I'm just debating, shall we go to chapter 5? Let's go through chapter 5 and we'll come back to the 12 links. 12 links, it's called the depending origination. There are different types of 12 links. Different school perceived it or explained it differently. But today, for the purpose of this class, we only stick to one type, which is called the cause and effect 12 links. And then we'll come back to it later. Let's go to chapter 5. Okay, the absence of essence. Now, before we're saying that, we're saying that the three nature. So here we're saying that, the three nature is again, it's non-existing. Okay, so let's see what the Venerable Yanpei explained. He said, based on the threefold marks of all things in chapter 4, chapter 5 talks about the absence of essence of the threefold marks of all things. The Buddha first explained the deceptive view on the nature of all things and review why they are deceptive. Then, according to the scholar of Yogacara school, the no essence or no intrinsic nature of all things are referred to the hidden intention. So there are specific meanings about the intrinsic nature compared to other school of thoughts, especially the school of Madhyamika. Now we comes to the fight. Okay, we're saying that you're wrong. The school of Madhyamika, you're wrong. Because they think differently. Okay, the Yogacara school practitioner, they think differently. They said that no essence of pervasive fabrication or deceptive mark refer to no intrinsic nature of the form or image or self. This is the one that is thoroughly and completely without any essence. Okay, Madhyamika school saying the same. There is no intrinsic nature, no essence of other depending mark. This refers to things that are arisen in the interdependently have no intrinsic nature, just another explanation of the intrinsic nature. It does not include the nature of conditional arising. Here is the catch. That's why I highlighted with the red. So it says that, all things that are arisen interdependently and have no intrinsic nature, but excluding the nature of conditional arising. That's why, the opponent, I shouldn't say opponent, the other school is saying that, hey, you're still saying that there is something that has a nature, okay? Has a true nature. But the Madhyamika school is saying that even the true nature is depending arising. So here is the difference. And then the next one would be no essence of perfect pattern of all things. So that is called the ultimate meaning. Refers to detachment from the deceptive mark. Then it is termed the perfect pattern of all things, the ultimate meaning. The ultimate meaning by itself still has essence. Okay? The Yogacara school established the concept that if the depending origination and ultimate meaning are not really exist, then there is the danger of falling into the trap of a wrong attachment to emptiness. So it's a call on the Madhyamika school. Because the Madhyamika school is saying that, okay, the depending origination, the teaching, the so-called ultimate meaning, they're also conditional arising. Okay, so the Yogacara school is saying that, hey, wait a minute. Okay, you're attached, you're wrong attached to the emptiness. And then later on, the Madhyamika school comes up with another theory called empty the emptiness. We're not saying that, attaching to emptiness, we're not creating anything called the emptiness. We're saying that, the emptiness is also a word. It's also an expression to explain. Okay, we're not creating something, it's called emptiness. So we also need to empty this idea of emptiness. So you see the differences of the two schools? Okay, it's very interesting. My goodness, I mean, the Buddha Dhamma, I cannot, praise enough for that. I mean, totally, 五体投地. It's totally amazing. And it's so interesting. So interesting. Okay, the next one is contrast to the three nature of pervasive fabrication, other dependence, and perfect accomplished. These three kinds of lack of nature are established from the viewpoint of lack of self-nature of all phenomena. There are a lot of arguments on that. Here, let's just take it as, the following are from the viewpoint of lack of self-nature. That means no self of all, phenomena. The catch here is the word phenomena. Each school would define phenomena differently. Is phenomena attributable to mental and physical, like the 5 aggregates, the 12 sense bases, the 18 dhatu, the spheres, the 3 realms, we call that phenomena, or the phenomena including the teaching of the Buddha. It's a phenomena. Okay. So from which standpoint that we're proceeding that such statement of lack of self-nature, how do we define that? Where do we draw the line? So this is an explanation from the standpoint of emptiness. Let's look at it, okay? So the deceptive mark has no essence. We all know that. All images, all signs, no person view, no self view, no lifespan view, okay? And then it says no essence, no intrinsic nature of all the marks, all the signs. Okay, that's fine. So the lack of nature in fabrication appearance, it is the lack of nature in fabrication appearance. Even though we calculate, okay, let me think about, how about I go this way? Would I find anything that is with a transit nature, with an intrinsic nature? Or let me think the other way, okay? So no matter how we calculate, investigate, reason, analyze, no matter what happened, we're saying that the human nature is such that we calculate and we analyze so that, we're trapped in the samsara. Right here, it says that because, go step back. This person is unaware of the law of interdependence or depending arising. Because we try to calculate, oh, this is real, then we ignore the 12 links, okay? But actually, they are formed from causation, cause and effect. And commonly cited metaphor is the rope appearing in the snake. So the metaphor or the simile is like, once upon a time, a person was bitten by a snake. So every time he sees the rope, he thinks it's a snake because it's shaped like it. Okay. So that is right. It's a fabrication. When our image, the conceptual image of something, and we thought that it is really exists, like the rope is actually a snake. Okay, this is a simile. But here it said that, they don't have any, the rope doesn't have any intrinsic nature. The snake doesn't have any intrinsic nature. So actually, these are, again, words. They are not really independently existing. So that's what it says that, okay, that's the human nature, but, that is not the human nature, because what we are saying, the human nature, is actually not the human nature. Therefore, it is the human nature. Okay. The next one is the other dependent marks have no essence. Okay. Now, so there are arguments when we think about, before it says that, other than the depending origination that has an intrinsic nature, the other, everything else, it does not. Then here it says that, also the other depending mark, the image of depending on others, also have no essence. Okay. It's a bit difficult to comprehend on this one. Then the fully perfected pattern of all things, or fully or no essence of ultimate meaning. The ultimate meaning by itself is another set of words. Okay, if we think that is really something that exists, then we cannot perceive, we cannot experience, we cannot realize what is the reality. So the Buddha called fully perfect pattern of all things are actually no intrinsic nature. The true ultimate meaning is without any essence, because absence of selfhood. Here we're talking about the non-self. Remember, we have three things: anicca, anatta, nirvana. Okay. So let's go to the words of the Buddha. It says, good suns, flowers in the sky are like the essence of no essence, like the essential no essence of deceptive mark. Flowers in the sky. So if we see flowers in the sky, this is more the Asian culture, okay? It's just like when we look at the mirror and there is a reflection of the flower. Is the flower real or is the flower not real? If the flower, if it's not the reflection, then the flower, then we can touch, okay? We can say that, okay, it exists. But if the flower is in the mirror, we cannot say it doesn't appear. It's an appearance, but it's not real. Okay, it's just like the moon in the water, in the lake. Is it a real moon? It's not a real moon, but it is a moon because it has the shape, it has the brightness, some of the characteristics of the moon. Very vague, very, you know, it's like, it takes a lot of logical thinking to go through that. So the arising of magical image is like the essential non-essence of arising. It is arising, it is depending origination, but it doesn't have an intrinsic nature, as well as one aspect of the essential non-essence of ultimate meaning. We call it the ultimate meaning, but it doesn't have an intrinsic nature. Just as the empty space is manifest everywhere by the absence of material form, so is the other aspect of essential no essence of ultimate meaning, which is manifest everywhere by absence of selfhood in all things. With practice, honestly, with practice, we'll be able to, if not fully realize, but getting close to understand all these teaching. Any comment, questions so far? Or am I going too fast?
Caddy, I've got one here I put in the chat. I don't know if it really needs an answer. It's just an interesting question, maybe. Is dependent origination dependently originating? And then the second one is there any essence to the negation of quote unquote no essence?
Which school we're talking about?
Oh, just in general. It doesn't, I mean, you can apply any school or no school or new school or whatever school.
We need
but it's those questions that each school have dealt with, the no essence and dependent origination. So.
Exactly. That's what I just talked about. We do need to understand from which viewpoint, which school of thought. If you talk to the Madhyamika, they will give you one set of answer. If you talk to the Sarvastivadians, they will give you another set of answer. If you talk to the Sutrantika, you will have yet another set of answer. If you talk to the Yogacara, again, one other set of answer. If you talk to the school of Tathagata Gaba, again, and if you talk to Chan school, different. If you talk to Lotus Sutra, the Tiantai school, different. That is the beauty of the Buddha's teaching. He gave you different viewpoints to choose from based on your capability. But you cannot say that, okay, I'm capable of stealing, I go steal. I'm capable of, that's not the point. The key thing is which technique, which teaching is going to lead us from the ocean of samsara or suffering across to the other shore of liberation. Some will be instant, quick, sharp faculty, okay, sudden realization. Some of them will be like, take your time, take the pace. We're not there yet, but keep on persistently, continuously patiently, and eventually we'll get there. Okay, so a question, general question, cannot, cover everything. In Buddhism, we have to be pretty precise in searching the technique, in searching the answer, in searching the teaching. And it has to be matching the three seals. It has to be for the purpose of enlightenment, not only for intellectual, not only for knowledge, not only for learning verbally, language-wise, but we can actually put all these teaching into practice. Practice not limited to chanting, not limited to meditation, not limited to studying, not limited to daily life. Somebody would say that, okay, what you need is put the teaching into daily life. Not limited to. We need all. Stage by stage, level by level, sequence by sequence. Would that answer your question? I didn't. Honestly, I didn't answer your question, but I'm just, hopefully will provide a little bit information that you can dig into it. And hopefully one day you will enlighten us with the answer.
Yeah, Caddy, thank you. That really highlights the importance of patient persistence. I feel that's like one of the greatest superpowers, because with the right instruction and patient persistence, anything can be accomplished. And also feel that the heart qualities are important too with wisdom, to balance the wisdom, so wisdom doesn't get like cold and calculating. And then not only that is if we have the great develop heart qualities too, well then it just raises the potential for greater wisdom. So they just go hand in hand, like, two wings of the same bird, that analogy.
Yeah. Thank you. Very good.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Okay. Are we ready to go into the 12 links of depending origination? Let me stop sharing first. See, Corey, now I remember to stop sharing. Then
getting the hang of it.
Gradually, okay? Don't have high hope on me. I'm a low-tech person, remember? Okay.
You are what I refer to as job security. So.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Okay, let's go back to that beautiful screen of the. I really like that image. I, got it from the internet. Search for the image of a Buddha, and then it pops up. Are you guys tired by listening?
No, not at all.
I hope I don't bore you.
Not tired of listening, just tired of sitting.
Oh.
Yeah, just tired. Yeah, not bored, not tired of listening.
Yeah, just a few more minutes and then we'll be brain dead.
Before we go on, could I quickly just share a thought to see that I have a point to it?
Sure. Of course, you're always welcome to do that. Don't be shy of that, okay?
I'm referring to Josh's question, and your answers is depending on different schools. Different school will give you different answers. That I was wondering, what if we ask the same question to the arahants, like Lady Sayadaw, Wibu Sayadaw? I wonder what they would say.
Well, one thing to clarify that I'm not an arhat, far from it. So at their level, I cannot reach. So I cannot speak for them and say, what would they say? Different people possess a different background, faculties. One example I can quote, I don't remember which sutra, but it's definitely in the Nikaya, that one day, I think it's Anathapindika, okay, the lay the lay disciple of the Buddha got sick. So the Buddha sent, and this is out of my mind, okay, I could be wrong, correct me. The Buddha sent Sariputra to visit him. And then at the dying bed, Sariputra gave sermon to Anathapindika. So his sermon to Anathapindika is the way of, how to say it? It's the teaching of, letting go of the self. That's the teaching that Sariputra gave Anathapindika. So when he returned to the Buddha asked him, what kind of teaching did you give Anathapindika? And Sariputra said, oh, okay, the non-self. And then the Buddha say that, reproach him and say that, why didn't you give him, the teaching of 12 links of depending origination? Why didn't you teach him the path of arahantship? So Sariputra was saying that, I'm not sure, if he can accept it. So this metaphor, this teaching is telling us that when we give a teaching, we have to know our audience, their capacity, their faculty, what would suit them most. Okay? So only the Buddha would fully understand and know who needs what. Okay? So if you ask somebody the question, then they will give you an answer based on their capacity also. Whether it's a sage, seasoned teacher, senior practitioner, because that's what they understand. And that's how they know to teach. Only the Buddha has this capability of knowing who needs what. Would that answer your question, Lisa? And of course, this is based on my understanding. I could be wrong. I think you're muted, Lisa. Are you talking? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just unmuted it. Yeah, I got your point. It really depends on the individual of the person who asks and the person who answers.
Exactly. Okay, somebody would tell me that, hey, Katie, why don't you become a doctor? Savage people accumulate lots of merits. Why not? I don't have the capacity. I'm so sorry. When I see blood, I faint. So can I be a doctor? I cannot. So that's why I said that the beauty of Buddhism, of the Buddhist teaching, is such that they give you different teaching from different angle. Okay, today I might not be able to comprehend or practice the school of Tathagata Gaba because I'm not connected to it at this point. But I cannot guarantee that, you know, when I study more, when I practice more, when I get into more details, understanding more, one of these days I'll say, wow, the Buddha nature is such an, you know, good practice, good tool for me to get into it. Or the Pure Land. This demonstrates anicca. We cannot say it's fixed, okay? Even if a set of teaching is very good and it suits this person, we're not sure for the next minute, would it suit the same person? Would he regress or would he progress? Only the Buddha. Make sense?
Yes, very much makes sense.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Good question. I learned a lot from you guys too. Okay, let's briefly, because we have only 50 minutes, and it takes about a good month to explain the 12 links of depending origination. And I have like 15 minutes to do that. But I think this is not foreign, not strange. The teaching is not strange to our group here. We all know that, okay? Ignorance, then volition, then consciousness, then name and form, then six sense basis, feeling, craving, clinging, becoming, and then all the goodies follow. When we're becoming, then it's birth, sadness, lamentation, suffering, old age, sickness, finally death. All these goodies will come along with the becoming, okay? So this is a rough explanation on that. Key thing is ignorance. So we're saying that, remember, this set of the 12 links is called the cause and effect 12 links. The 12 links, depending origination, can be divided into 3 divisions. And it's not in the note, okay? So one set, the most commonly accepted, is the cause and effect, because of that, something else happened. Because of that, something else happened. So this is what Master In-Sun called a vertical explanation of, you know, samsara, or cause and effect. While the Four Noble Truths is a horizontal explanation. Okay, so cause and effect. And there are other 2, I don't want to get into it because it involved the Yogacara school, not the Yogacara school. Yogacara school is the cause and effect one, it's this one. And then the other one is belong to the Madhyamika school, okay? So they have different explanation even on the depending origination. And then on this chart, which I think I pulled out from an internet, The good part of that is it gives you the Nikaya, which Nikaya to go to, okay? So like the Sankara is Samyutta Nikaya 12.2, okay? So it actually gives you where to look for the information. So start with the ignorance. So people would say that, okay, we get rid of ignorance, eradicate, cut off. The ignorance cannot be cut off, unfortunately, until we reach the state that we eradicate, untangle all the fetters. Okay, so it's there until, you know, we reach the higher sagehood. Sankara is a good term too. Sankara can be used in various places. It actually called actions. Okay, it's called actions. Action, whether mental, physical, or verbal, they're actions. So the debate here is, again, different school. Debate here is mental, does mental action brings result? Okay. Say, I want to kill somebody. That's not a good term. I don't want to kill somebody. Okay. Say if I want to scold somebody. So I have a formation in my mind. When I see this person, I'm going to yell at him or her. So that's, you know, the fabrication in the mind. But then I didn't do it. Okay. When I see him, or see her, I smile and say hello. But my mind is like on fire and say, I wish something. So would that bring result?
I think so.
Okay. All depends on what kind of result. It definitely brings result because action brings result, right? Is the result explicit or hidden?
Hidden?
Okay. Again, if I did not voice out and yell at this person, I won't get slapped by this person, right? So it's more explicit if I, you know, perform my action physically or verbally. If I'm just thinking about it, even the law said that, you know, if you didn't physically kill somebody, then, you know, you're not being punished. But the result here in the Mahayana school teaching, a lot of them is saying that it's more dangerous than you actually physical or verbal action. And Yogacara school is very good on explaining that. Because everything is mind only, remember? Okay. So when these things accumulate, and it's just like a snowball, it roll and roll and roll and roll and roll. Okay, negative, I'm talking about the negative. Positive, we say, okay, you know, until we reach the ultimate level, conventionally we say, okay, you know, virtuous actions brings virtuous results, effects. But if they are negatives, they're unwholesome actions, mental action I'm talking about, then it builds up. It's going to affect our habitual pattern. They are only, it's just like, you know, matter cannot be created or destroyed, right? That's the law. I don't know which law. But, That's a scientist law. Bija also. The seeds also.
It's one of the laws. Sorry. It's one of the laws of thermodynamics.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So bija, if we have more wholesome seeds compared to the unwholesome seeds, then we definitely will bring wholesome result. But we have more unwholesome seeds that is going to take over the space and then, the mental factors. Then what happened is those unwholesome seeds is going to 掀起. Okay, it's going to be activate eventually. I'll find that term. I know that in Chinese, but So this is going to happen eventually. So does it bring result? Yes. Okay. And it's not necessarily hidden. So does it make sense, Lisa?
Yeah, I thought it may be hidden temporarily, but if you don't handle processes, eventually it will come out as an action.
Yeah.
And that karmic energy generated by this thought could be very, very strong.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Like Goenka said, it's like the sankhara carved on the rock with a chisel, right?
Yes.
So it's difficult to eradicate. So in that sense, we can understand a little bit more. Do you think that I should explain the 12 links, or we can, maybe go home and read it? What do you guys think?
We learned the 12 links in Pali. the words only.
Yeah, I feel like there's a handful of things we just kind of go over repeatedly, but that's good for memorization, I'm sure, throughout the classes we've had.
Okay. We have about 5 minutes. So maybe I would point to the most important thing. Not the most, all of them are important. Number 6 is called contact. How contact happen? The process of contact. My question here, and this is, let's do it as a verbal homework. How about that? Sorry, no points, but I think it's good to learn. We talk about contact when we learn about the process of papancha, right? Okay, the physical form come across the external object, stimulate or give rise to the consciousness. The process of contact happen. With contact, we have a Vedana, we have sensation that happen, right? Okay, so the contact here, how do we perceive the contact here? These links, if we put it into the teaching, the embryology teaching, we say that ignorance, pachaya, sankhara, right? Give rise to sankhara. So here, the consciousness, it's not here yet. If we think that, okay, in this life, we already born, and then, because ignorance that, we perform some actions based on our habitual pattern, then it stimulates, the consciousness. But here with that, it's like before birth. How are we related to that? because here it says the Vijnana, it's a rebirth consciousness. And we just talk about the embryology, about, when consciousness started. It's a very interesting question, very interesting. It's good to know. I think at this point, the three nature is more important, but then the interdependent or depending origination, at least we have to know their procedures. And I believe that, all of our students here would be able to do that, the procedures. Maybe give a short explanation of, how it goes. What is the cause and effect? Maybe a table of separate them into like the three practices.
What three practices?
The three practices. Oh, let's see.
You've been learning,
yeah,
analysis, and
personal
experience.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. How do we incorporate that into it? Okay, this is just extra exercises that we might be interested to do. Thank you guys very much. We did, in a way, finish the sutra. This sutra of Sandini Mochana Sutra on time. Good thing.
Good job. Thank you, Katie.
Everybody, good job. Okay, not just me. So pay attention to the three nature. That's pretty essential for the school of Yogacara. Okay. Next class would be a very tight one. Okay. Very tight one. Today it's tight, but not compared to the next one. So we shall go into Abhidhamma Kosa next class. One friendly reminder, start your homework.
Talking about homework, I do have a question, but
okay.
We're running out of time.
That's okay, I can answer some questions, don't worry.
Oh, on the format, it says you need to write down the title.
Yes.
I don't know what the title to write. It's just to pick one of the questions and write down as a title?
Yes.
Yeah, your title is the question.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to do three, just pick up one.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Thank you for your hard work, Katie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I learned a lot myself. Okay. Thank you guys for your support.
谢谢 Katie 师姐，感恩。
谢谢。Any question, just drop me a note, Slack or my email. Please send your homework to my email. You do have that in our first class, when we do the introduction to the class. All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. I will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.